Hello everybody and welcome to this special video where I'm going to be reflecting on my recent trip to Florida. Yeah, I didn't tell you anything about this in any of my recent videos, but yeah, I have just been on a trip to Florida, and that's why there's not been any videos on the other channel for the past couple of weeks. I will be going back to the other channel, but yeah, there won't be any videos on it this weekend just because I am doing this for a special video. So yeah, while I was out in Florida, I went to both Walt Disney World and Universal. First I'm going to talk about Walt Disney World. So yeah, you probably already know this, but this has already got six parks altogether. 4 of those are theme parks, 2 are water parks, and I only went to one of the water parks, so I went to 5 of the 6 parks at Walt Disney World. And yeah, first I am going to talk about the Magic Kingdom. There are going to be 2 POVs coming. One of those is from Disney. It's a test track on ride POV. Yeah, I did manage to get a test track on ride POV. And there's also going to be a POV off ride from the Incredible Hulk at Universal. And I'll tell you why there's no on ride POVs at Universal later. Some of you may already know the reasons for that. But yeah, starting off then at the Magic Kingdom. It's the main theme park at Walt Disney World, as you probably know. And it's home to rides such as the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which was actually my first fast pass of the first day at Walt Disney World was on that. It's a very good family roller coaster. Also, there's some classics such as Dumbo. I didn't do it, but I've done it at Paris. The exact same, so there wasn't much point. The Barnstormer is another little junior roller coaster. And that is in Fantasyland. I forgot to mention this. The Magic Kingdom split into 6 different areas. Main Street USA, which is, well, Main Street's at all the Disney parks, apart from Shanghai, where it's called Mickey Avenue. Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, Frontierland, Liberty Square, and Adventureland. So that's mainly Fantasyland. There's some other rides like Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaids, another dark ride, a few other things. It's the biggest land, so there's a lot to talk about. There's some of the key things. Tomorrowland's home to a roller coaster known as Space Mountain, which is an indoor enclosed roller coaster. And that's also really good. It's themed to like space travel, stuff like that. That's good to ride. The only thing I'd say about it is there could be more theming in the actual coaster itself. But yeah, it's called the Tomorrowland Speedway. Now, I prefer Autopia at Disneyland Paris, because that's the other Disney I've been to. I've only been to Florida and Paris, but I preferred Autopia just because there's more to see as you go round, and yeah, it goes sort of down the bridges. I mean, this is basically a figure of 8, to be honest. It's good, but not as good as Paris's. Buzz Lightyear. Some people would say this isn't as good as Paris is, but I don't agree at all. I think it's a lot better. I mean, there's more to see as you're going around. The room's more open, bigger theming. Like, there's a massive buzz in the queue line and stuff. Like, Paris's queue line hasn't really got anything to see at all. But yeah. And there's also the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor and Stitch's Great Escape. Now, I didn't get to do either of those attractions. And that is because Monsters Inc. We were going to do it, but on the last day we were at the Magic Kingdom, it actually closed, it broke down. So I didn't actually end up doing that, which was a bit of a shame. I mean, I did want to do it. It wasn't my most anticipated ride at all, but I would have liked to have given it a go. And Stitch's Great Escape, we weren't aware that it was actually going to close while we were out there, so I ended up missing it because we left it till like the last minute, and we decided, let's go and see if we can go and get on Stitch's Great Escape. I mean, I wasn't too fussed because I've done the one at Paris, but it would have been nice to compare them. But yeah, on to Frontierland then. This is home to two classic rides. I mean, Big Thunder Mountain was my favourite ride at Paris. I've not been very lucky with Big Thunder Mountain, but I was at Florida. I went to Paris the first time, rode it, loved it. It was actually my first ever sort of big roller coaster that got me into roller coasters. So if I hadn't ridden that ride, I mean, I might have been talking to you eventually, and I would have obviously rode it at Florida, but if I hadn't rode that ride at Paris, I may not stood talking to you now. Sorry, I couldn't get my words out then. So yeah, it was great to get on that at Florida. I did prefer the Florida one to the Paris. I think it's slightly more intense. I mean, it's 6 years since I rode the Paris one, because I went the first time 6 years ago, as I was saying. I was only about, I don't know, 8 at the time or something like that. 9, 8, 9, something like that. Then 2 years later I went back to Paris, went to ride it again, and then I didn't know that it was going to be shut, so yeah, I was quite upset about that. I didn't get to do it again. Then I went 3 years later than that, which was last year, to ride it again, only finding out, luckily before this time, so it didn't come as a shock when I got there, it was closed again for a refurbishment, so I didn't get to ride it again. Luckily it is back open now, and I will be getting out there next year to ride the new, very refurbished Thunder Mountain since I last rode it. But yeah, apparently it's got a lot of theming that the Florida one has, and if it's half as good as that, I'll be very happy, because it was really good, the Florida one. Lots of theming as you're going round. Had sort of the thing where the train sort of sways on one bit of the track, which Paris's doesn't have, so it was really good. So the other ride, Splash Mountain, another one of my most anticipated rides to get to ride at Florida. I mean, it was brilliant. It's a very good log flume. 4 drops in total, I think it's got. One of those being a really, really big 50-foot drop. I mean, it's not the biggest drop ever on a log flume, but for Disney, that's really good. You don't tend to get that big a drop on a roller coaster or anything at Disney, so yeah. Out of Florida, it's probably the biggest drop on any ride there. So that was brilliant to get on. Lots of theming indoors. And yeah, next area then, Liberty Square. This is home to the riverboat. Believe Tom Sawyer Island, or is that Adventureland? I'm not sure. I didn't do either of those attractions because we just didn't have the time. I did do, though, the Haunted Mansion. I mean, I've done Paris's Phantom Manor, so I was quite excited to get on it because I heard it was really good out there. It definitely lived up to what I was hoping. It was brilliant. There was a lot more theming, a lot more open again than Paris, and yeah, it was really good. Finally then, on to Adventureland, and that will complete the Magic Kingdom review. That's home to both the Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, and not forgetting the Magic Carpets ride, which is the exact same at Paris, but it's in the Walt Disney Studios park. So yeah, there was nothing really different about that. Now, Jungle Cruise, yeah, I better talk about that a bit actually. Basically, you get on a boat, you've got a skipper, as they call it, who drives you about this river. You go through lots of bits with animatronic animals. The reason they've actually done that is because when the ride actually opened, they didn't have the technology to, or anything to be able to take you on like a safari with like real animals. And they've not updated it just to keep it with its classic feel, and it's part of the theming, really. It's not meant to be that amazing, but yeah, it was good to get on it. It isn't my favourite ride, but I enjoyed it. Then Pirates of the Caribbean. I was actually a bit disappointed with this attraction actually after riding it in Paris because it wasn't nearly as good. I mean, first of all, the Paris ride has got 2 drops. This only had 1. And it just didn't make sense here. The story didn't flow properly. The end scene in Paris where you got like the skeletons and stuff in the treasure. This was at the start of Florida's, but you didn't have the treasure. I mean, and there was sort of this drop in the middle of nowhere. You then went into the village scene like at Paris. And then there was well, you went into a battle scene first like at Paris. Now that was actually better than Paris because there were cannonballs, but the village didn't look as good. You have Captain Jack Sparrow in there, so that's an added scene, but yeah, it just doesn't seem as grand as Paris. There's something about Paris that makes it really good. I mean, at Paris it's kind of like a proper log flume, whereas at here you've got the one drop, but it's a very small drop. And yeah, it's just not good at all, really. But yeah, that completes the Magic Kingdom. Now, after each park, and I probably should have said this at the start, I'm going to show you some highlights from each park. So I'm going to show you some highlights from the Magic Kingdom park now. You're going to see a bit of Frontierland, a bit of Liberty Square. You'll see Splash Mountains drop and see what I mean. And yeah, you'll also see some Thunder Mountain from the bridge. It's quite hard to actually get a view of that coaster, but there is one bridge that you're going to see where you can. And yeah, so I'll talk to you after the highlights.
Okay, so here at the Magic Kingdom, looking across the lake near Liberty Square, Frontierland, that sort of area. And now we are heading over to Frontierland to have a look at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and Splash Mountain. And here is the entrance, I believe, for Big Thunder Mountain, right there on your screen now. And here we go. Thunder Mountain going past. It is a great family coaster. And there we go. You get a good view from up there on that bridge, actually. Splash Mountain's drop. It's a brilliant log flume. Really well themed. And that drop at the end, it doesn't get you too wet, but it's still good. And there you go, there's the boats going round at the bottom of the drop there. And into the final section of the ride. And we're just going over here now to get a view over that way over Frontierland. We're now in Liberty Square, heading down towards the Haunted Mansion. Fortunately though, the Vault Presidents, which is one of the main attractions in the Liberty Square, is currently closed for refurbishment. And here we are now in the nighttime show, which is just about to begin. As you saw there, you saw a bit of the entrance at night. And here we are. And it is starting. There we go. And here are some of the highlights from the nighttime show, which is called, by the way, Happily Ever After. So enjoy.
Each of us has a dream, a heart's desire. It calls to us, and when we're brave enough to listen and bold enough to pursue, that dream will lead us on a journey to discover who we're meant to be. All we have to do is look inside our hearts and unlock the magic within.
obviously we've just seen some highlights there from the Magic Kingdom. I do apologise, I should have done this before, but with these highlights there's going to be a lot more obviously from all the parks that we visited, but I do apologise for the bad audio on those. It's just my voice just didn't seem to get above the surrounding noise on there. But yeah, next up then, we're going to talk about Epcot. And by the way, Magic Kingdom, it is a really good park. A lot of it's quite similar to Paris, but still, it's definitely better than Paris's Magic Kingdom style park in many ways. Anyways then, we're going to move on to a park that isn't at Paris, and that's Epcot. Now this was the second park to open at Walt Disney World after the Magic Kingdom. And yeah, let's just say it's a phenomenal park. It's really good. And it's definitely the most sort of unique park at Disney, should we say. Very iconic with, obviously, the big Spaceship Earth golf ball. I think it's known as the Epcot golf ball, which is home to the ride, which is called Spaceship Earth, right in the centre. And yeah, it's a 20-minute ride. It's all about sort of predicting the future, looking at the past, what's happened, and sort of predicting sort of the future kind of thing. And it was really good to get on that. Another ride then in Epcot. There's not many rides in Epcot actually, and I'll explain why now. Epcot is split into two areas, with Spaceship Earth sort of being the centre. However, it is classed as the first area, which is Future World, obviously with the theme of the ride, which has kind of got pretty much every single ride in it and stuff, and a lot of meet and greets, things like that. There are some in the next area, which is World Showcase, which is basically a beautiful area which sort of, they've basically represented sort of the key things from a lot of different countries. There's shops you can go in. And the cool thing is that the people who are actually on the counters and the food outlets in the World Showcase are actually from the country corresponding to the country that you're in at the time, which I think is really good. So, for example, in the British area where you got the fish and chips, the person serving you on that is actually British, which is really cool that they've done that. So yeah, some more about Future World then. It's also home to attractions such as Soaring, which is a flying theatre where you go across the world and go through sort of key places. And it's also home to Mission Space. I didn't go in it because it's basically sort of, Mission Space basically simulates you flying to Mars, so simulates the takeoff and stuff, but it spins around, and I'm not into intense spinny rides, so I didn't bother doing it. It's not meant to be one of the best rides there anyway. Also then, there's a Living with the Land where you sort of go through all the greenhouses and actual labs and stuff at Epcot, which was cool. And it's all about like plants. Oh, I said that really bad. Like, all about sort of growth and plants, and they tell you a lot about fish and stuff. It's a lot of it's about food really. And that was a rubbish explanation, but you can get out there and see it for yourself. It's about a 15-minute ride, and you sort of get the theme about it. It's quite educational, actually. I mean, it said some stuff in there that I didn't know, but yeah, that's that. Now then, Test Track, which is actually the ride, like I said before, or did I say? I think I said before. I was going to be doing an on-ride POV, full POV of Test Track. And yeah, I do pre-warn you for... actually, well, I'll talk about that in a different episode. Basically, to sum it up, I'll talk about it in more detail in another episode, which is I'm keeping secret for the moment. You go through like different tests with your car that you make in the queue, like it's like your car. And the tests are efficiency, capability, responsiveness and power. And I do warn you, power's the last one, and that's actually the good bit of the ride, which I'm going to talk about. So, sorry about the camera then, my arm's starting to ache a bit actually, barely even finished this yet. But yeah, I do warn you that the power results are not displayed. I did end the episode, well, the video before then, But yeah, my car did win that test, if you were wondering. So yeah, I just thought I'd tell you that. So yeah, and I think that pretty much sums up Future Wheels. Oh, there was another ride, which was the Summer Full Thrills that we were going to go on, but sorry guys, we didn't realise till we actually got to the ride that it's closed forever now. It closed last September because they are building a new ride. So yeah, that onto World Showcase then pretty much summed it up. You go around the different countries that they have tried to recreate, and you basically, there's shops, there's meet and greets in some of them, there's also restaurants, and yeah, that is World Showcase. And I do warn you guys that actually our country is pretty stereotypical. It's not very accurate to what it's like now anyway. It's more like the country about 200 years ago. But yeah, they make it look really posh, the British one. Yeah, most of Britain isn't what it looks like. You'll have to see from the highlights. I do show you some highlights, which you're going to see now around World Showcase. And actually, one last thing to mention about Epcot is the World Showcase. It's actually built around a massive lagoon with the spaceship Earth in the centre. So I'll show you quite a few shots of that. So yeah, here you go then. Here's some of the highlights from Epcot.
Okay guys, we're here now in Epcot. We got a good view there. The famous Golf Ball, which is home to the 20-minute dark ride Spaceship Earth. One of the most iconic attractions in Walt Disney World.
Thanks guys, have a good one.
So, we're going to be heading over now to World Showcase to go and explore some of the main areas, such as England, of course, Germany, and Japan, and many more. You'll also see some shots across the lake, or lagoon, or whatever you want to call it. Just so capturing Spaceship Earth at lots of different angles. Here we are now over in Germany. As I am attempting to zoom on Spaceship Earth, and I believe we're near the American area at the moment, so we're going to go and explore that along with the remaining areas of World Showcase. It really is a very good experience. I mean, like I said, Epcot's not all about the rides, it's about the experience. Now, all the parks probably offers the best varied experience. I mean, you still got your rides like Test Track, Soaring, Living with the Land, that sort of thing. Really, Epcot is about the experience side of things. Also plenty of meet and greets as well. There you go, Spaceship Earth again. I told you we'd be seeing a lot of that.
It's making it itself.
view here across the lake. There it is again.
Okay.
This looks familiar. I believe we may be back home. Certainly the right weather for back home.
Which poncho? We had an intern when we were in our junior year. That was our
I suppose it's not terribly busy today. There's not open.
And this is now one of the final views across the lake. All around World Showcase. As I probably forgot to mention, you probably saw this anyway, but all of World Showcase is built around this big lake.
Okay, so those were some highlights from Epcot. Yeah, it's a really unique park, as I was saying, Epcot. You don't get many parks like that around the world, and although there's not many rides, it's meant to be more of a chilled out park. And yeah, on to our next park then, which is Disney's Hollywood Studios. A lot of park that some people would say it's in a bit of a state at the moment because the building Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land, so they've had to shut a lot of the attractions there and there's not a lot to do. I don't think that's the case at all. I actually really enjoyed that park more than I thought I would. And yeah, as you will see, we were actually there like the day before the Great Movie Ride closed. I actually did get to ride the Great Movie Ride, and I have got some highlights from it. Not a full POV, but some highlights from some key scenes from the ride, which you will see when I show it you. Other rides there's only actually 4 operating now, include Toy Story Mania, which is like another shooting ride, where you shoot like... It's kind of like a fun fair rides type thing. You're at like a Toy Story fair and you're shooting things. I think it's probably the weakest ride at Hollywood Studios, but it was still fun to ride. Another ride then, Star Tours. Obviously themed to Star Wars, as I'm sure you guessed by the name. Which is like a simulator ride. And there's actually 3D simulator ride. Both Toy Story and Star Wars are 3D rides where you wear 3D glasses. And yeah, it's really good. It's much better than the Paris version, which, yeah, there is one at Paris. It's in the Magic Kingdom. Well, not the Magic Kingdom, the Disneyland Park as it's called there. However, that has been updated since I rode it. It was closed last time I went. I know a lot of rides at Paris were closed last time I went. They did add what they've added now in Florida in. There's like 50 different videos. I did actually end up seeing the same one twice, which was a bit rubbish, but yeah, it does change from riding it myself. It does change. Another ride then is Tower of Terror, or funnily, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Another ride that's also in Paris is Walt Disney Studios. However, here the building is taller. I don't believe that the lift shaft themselves are any taller. From sort of feeling the drops and stuff, it doesn't feel any bigger when you're on it, but the building is a lot more intimidating than the Paris one. But don't let that put you off going on it. It's a brilliant ride, and to be honest, it's not actually that bad after the first time you've ridden it. You do get plenty of airtime. You're out your seat a bit on some of the drops, but honestly, they're not that big, guys. It's not that bad a ride, and you do get used to it. Just saying that for anyone who's, I don't know, worried to go on it and they're going. And yeah, it's brilliantly themed. The elevator actually in the bit before the drop sequence, actually moves around, which is cool. You move like through the different rooms and stuff, whereas Paris you kind of just, the doors open and you're sort of shown the room, but you don't actually go through it. It's actually longer than Paris's sort of not pre-show. There's a pre-show before the ride, but sort of the bit dark ride section, it's a lot longer. I feel Paris's is a little bit rushed, but this, you feel like you get the full story. Also, Paris's is in French, which means that for people like me who are alright at French but not that good, I find it quite hard to understand what's going on really. But now I've ridden the Florida, I kind of know the full story of the Tower of Terror. Finally then, let's move on to Rock and Roller Coaster, which I think by some people is quite underrated. Some people say that who've ridden the Paris version, which I haven't actually ever ridden, that they say that that's a lot better because of the lighting. I'm sure it is good because of that, but for me riding the Florida one, the first one I've ridden, you got the big guitar outside, which you'll see in the highlights of not Walt Disney Studios, Hollywood Studios. It's much better than Walt Disney Studios. Yeah, it's quite underrated by some people, I think. And yeah, you kind of go, it's Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, so obviously the rock bit is the Aerosmith band. Basically they're showing you their studio, then they find out they've got to be at a concert, so they hire a car for you to go get there too, and they give you backstage passes so you can come with them and watch it. And yeah, the cast members actually get really into it, so yeah, I've heard rumours that might be either going or being rethemed, which will be a shame for a lot of people, I think. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't really want that ride to change at all, to be honest, because I think it's fine how it is. And the coaster, it's a launch roller coaster, I forgot to mention. It launches from 0 to 57 in 2.8 seconds, and you do feel it on the launch. I forgot to actually mention it's the second fastest ride in Walt Disney World after Test Track, which I talked about before, which is a top speed of 65 miles per hour. That does actually sort of launch as well. It kind of gradually speeds up to that speed in the power scene though, so you don't really get the full G-force of the launch. It does have force to it, but not like this does. And that's sort of in the power test scene, which you will see in the POV, and I'll talk about a bit more about it in this other episode which I'm going to be doing, which will just have a few rides in it. Therefore I'll go into a bit more detail about the rides that I think I need to and that you need to know about. It does have 3 inversions. 2 of those inversions are right after the launch. A sea serpent roll element, which is sort of a half loop attached to a corkscrew, and then the opposite way around, a corkscrew attached to a half loop. Yeah, some people would say that the ride's forceless. I wouldn't call it that. I mean, it doesn't have loads of force to it. Some trains are actually more forceful than others. Like some you feel like you're going really fast. Some of the inversions are quite forceful. You're pushed around in the seat. It's not rough or anything, it's smooth, but you know what I mean. You're pushed into the seat a bit on them. Whereas others feel quite slow and you don't feel much of that at all. But yeah, it's a brilliant ride. The launch is the most forceful bit of the ride. Then you got the inversions, which are a bit forceful. The third one, by the way, which I haven't mentioned yet, is sort of, it's basically simple corkscrew to the left, sort of in the middle of this twisty, helixy type layout, which the rest of it is. You kind of go helixes, which turns that are sort of banked up and down, things like that. So yeah, the rest of the layout is not that forceful at all, but it's fun to ride. You've got music playing in the background. Each train has a different soundtrack, by the way. A different Aerosmith songs, or some have several actually. But yeah, it's a brilliant ride, and I think it's quite underrated, to be honest. And yeah, by the way, before I go, I forgot to mention the Great Movie Ride, which is the ride that recently closed a couple of weeks ago at Walt Disney World, is actually being rethemed to a ride called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And I think it's actually going to be good to get a Mickey and Minnie ride, because we've actually not got one in any Disney park yet. It's a shame to see that ride closed, but it'll be interesting to see the new ride. And anyway, guys, Now you are going to see the Hollywood Studios highlights from around the park. You're also going to see some shows that I forgot to mention. The Star Wars show, the Indiana Jones stunt show. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a minute.
We're now in Hollywood Studios. We're going to be having a look at some of the shows. And yeah, you saw the sign there. Now, this is the new ride, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. There's a poster for it there. Like I said before, the Great Movie Ride is closing, which is a shame. I only got to ride it once, and it was amazing. So yeah, it was quite sad to see it go. And I know a lot of people who rode it, well, since it was built, are very sad too. Long-term fans of it. Here is now Tower of Terror, which, like I said, is a lot more intimidating than the ride actually is. I mean, like I said, the ride's not that bad, but the building makes it look a lot worse than it is. That's what I was trying to say. Here we are now, at the entrance to the plaza, where Rock and Roller Coaster is located. Someone's ringing their Tower of Terror bell there in the background. There is the main icon.
You go right that corner and it just went
the electric guitar. Around there and get a bit of the car as well behind it. That guitar there is kind of featuring like a bit of close to the track as well as being strings to the guitar. Yeah, I think Rock and Roller Coaster is quite underrated, to be honest, by
No
Here we
place
are
like the
now.
movies.
Great movie ride.
One of Hollywood's significant contributions to the world of film were great musicals. This scene is from one of my favorites, the 1933 Busby Berkeley spectacular Footlight Parade. Here's one of the most famous of all dance sequences. It's from the
Managed to capture this was like the first
Singing.
bit I actually filmed, like singing, actually seen these scenes
Here's one of the quintessential Disney musicals, Mary Poppins, starring Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. This classic earned 13 Academy Award nominations.
I love this song. Sing along.
Yeah, there's plenty of videos of it out there for you guys. Have a look at what I mean. Yeah, hope you enjoy it.
It's like soft floor in here.
Hold on to those wallets and purses, folks. This doesn't look like a very good neighborhood.
Here's the birthplace of the gangster film, the seedy underbelly of Chicago from Public Enemy, starring James Cagney. Released in 19... their status as the Blockbuster Boys with their first partnership. Here from that legendary collaboration is Harrison Ford as archaeologist Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Some of the biggest horror stars of Hollywood have appeared in the ancient story of a cursed Egyptian temple. A priceless jewel that beckons to all, but be warned, the temptation always leads to destruction.
Why? Looks like we hit the mother lode. I reckon it's time to stake a claim. Ain't nothing more than another ghost town. Takes a lot more than this to spook me. I don't let any hombres move when I'm fetching their treasure. Listen, you want a belly full of lead?
I've seen enough movies to know that you really shouldn't even think about trying to steal that jewel.
Disturb the treasure of the gods, and you shall all pay with your lives.
like kind of, it's also art of it eventually, yeah.
I've got a job to do too. Well, I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't pay any problem. Listen, I'm no good at being known. It doesn't take much to see.
Here's Humphrey Bogart in his most famous film role. In 1942, Bogey finally got to spread his wings and romance the beautiful. And now, one of the most famous movie stars in one of his greatest roles, Mickey Mouse, is the Sorcerer's Apprentice in Fantasia. We've come over the rainbow and into one of the most beloved and most watched films in movie history, The Wizard of Oz.
But I'm not around Kansas anymore.
Yes, and the joyous news is spread. The wicked old witch at last is dead. The witch of the east. Was it you?
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it. The dark side. The Jedi. They're real.
The Force. It's calling to you.
Okay guys, hope you enjoyed those highlights there from Disney's Hollywood Studios. So yeah, you saw the Star Wars show and the Indiana Jones show, which I'm sure if you've been to Paris you'll realise is quite similar to the car stunt show, which used to be at Florida, but it's closed now, and I believe that is due to the refurbishments going on with Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land. Another ride that closed, or attraction, whatever it is, the Backlot Tour, which is basically like Paris' studio tour, which is a shame that we didn't get to do that. And there's also another ride that I forgot to mention that closed at Epcot, and that is the Universe of Energy. Not got a clue what it is, I never got to experience it, but yeah, it closed at a similar time to the Great Movie Ride. But yeah, unfortunately, didn't get to see that. Anyway then, another attraction at Hollywood Studios, which I forgot to mention, is One Man's Dream. There aren't any highlights from it, but it's basically about Walt Disney and how he thought that Disneyland in California, which is the original one, would look. And it sort of shows you about his history and stuff, so that's a nice attraction to go and have a look in if you got time. I forgot to actually mention about some of the, or one of the nighttime spectaculars that you saw at the Magic Kingdom, which was called Happily Ever After. That's the big fireworks show you would have seen from there. And that was also a really good show. Anyway, now finally, the last but not least good theme park we are moving on to in Walt Disney World is Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now this is actually my favourite theme park in Walt Disney World, hands down. I mean, you got rides such as Expedition Everest, a big roller coaster which sort of goes through the up Everest, and you go backwards and see the Yeti and stuff. Brilliantly themed, and I'll be talking about it more in this other video. You've also got the Colony River Rapids, a bit disappointing actually. I think they could be a bit more themed and be a bit longer as well. But yeah, there's the Rapids. Also, Dinoland USA. The least themed area in Walt Disney World. It's basically themed to like a 60s fun fair. You got Primeval Whirl, which is 2 spinning coasters, which are alright. And you've also got the Triceratops Spin. I'm guessing that area will probably go at some point. Hopefully they keep the Primeval Whirl, then we keep the roller coaster and give it a bit more theming. Triceratops Spin, I'm not bothered about. And it's too similar to rides such as Dumbo and the Magic Carpets and stuff like that. Also then, another ride is Dinosaur in that area, which is the one actually themed ride, which is really good, which I'll be talking about in another episode. And finally then, in Animal Kingdom, actually not finally, the Kilimanjaro Safari is basically a safari where you do see real animals. It's kind of a more advanced Jungle Cruise type ride. And also, finally, Avatar Land. What a beautifully themed area. It's only just opened literally about 3 months ago, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, best theming I've seen ever. There's floating rocks. I've got a good idea how they work, but yeah. You got floating rocks, it's amazing. All the ambience, the sounds, you're going to see a lot of it in the highlights actually. two rides in there, the Navi River and the Flight of Passage, as I believe they're called. Now, Navi River's basically a boat ride which takes you through Avatar. However, it's quite hard to understand if you've not watched the film, so I didn't get a lot out of it. On the other hand, now, Flight of Passage. What an amazing ride. I'm not going to spoil any of it, but let's just say it's like Star Tours and Soaring put together, but it's better. It's better than both of them added together. 10 times better than it. I'm not spoiling any of it for now, but I will be talking about it a lot in a future episode. I can tell you that now. It is amazing, literally. And that sums up all the rides in the Animal Kingdom. Now, an interesting fact before I show you the highlights. Animal Kingdom is actually the hottest theme park in Walt Disney World. And that is because they've actually had to build it down into a pit. Basically to make it hot enough for the animals. They've also got loads of trees in there which keeps in the moisture when it rains in Florida. So yeah, it's absolutely boiling. I think it got up to like 38 degrees in there one day we were there. But yeah, here are the highlights now from Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Here we are then, at Animal Kingdom, my favourite theme park of Walt Disney World. Wow. Like I said, it is an amazing park, and it's quite different to the others. As you can see there, view across the lake, sort of nearby Expedition Everest, and in a minute there'll be some footage of off-ride of Expedition Everest as it sort of comes down its main drop towards the end of the ride. There you go. That is a fantastic drop, and it is quite intense actually from the roller coaster around that bank corner as well. It's quite a bank corner that actually. And there you go. It's just going up the lift hill there. So yeah, it is actually quite. It's only 112 foot, but it does look very high. The track itself is actually a lot lower than the actual mountain. The mountain's 199 foot. We're now in Avatar Land, and like I said, this is amazing. I mean, look at it on the screen now, all the floating rocks and stuff is absolutely stunning. I mean, I'm not sure how they did it, but I mean, they got an idea with, I mean, all the trees around. Great to hide stuff, but yeah, it's very clever, sorry guys, very advanced. Yeah, I'm just showing you now different shots, different areas around Avatar Land. Yeah, Flight of Passage is definitely the ride that basically makes the area and the park. I mean, I don't know if Animal Kingdom would be my favourite park or not if it wasn't for that ride, because I like it all so much, but that ride's just next level. I mean, like I said, check out the video when I'll talk about it a bit more. I'm not announcing what that is yet, but it'll be online soon, and if you're watching this in September 2017 onwards, then it's already online. And in a minute, you're going to see some shots of the Tree of Life at night. The Tree of Life is basically, as I said, the main icon of Animal Kingdom. And there it is at night. So,
which one again?
I'm probably going to stop talking for a bit now, guys, and just let you enjoy the show that's about to start now. Here we go. You can see that basically what this is, it's a show that runs at night every 10 minutes where different things are projected onto the screen. So it's not the big nighttime show, it's just sort of a little show. The big nighttime show Rules of Light, as I said, unfortunately I've not got any footage here of. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this show, and I'll see you soon.
Okay guys, so you just seen some highlights from Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now let me talk again about nighttime shows. Animal Kingdom has The Tree Awakens, which you saw in the highlights. I know I forgot to mention it before. I did mention it in the highlights video with the commentary. But yeah, it's basically a show where stuff is projected on the tree, as I was saying. Also then, you've also got The Rivers of Light, which is a really good show at Animal Kingdom. And yeah, I didn't show any videos of it, but it is really good. And actually, the Animal Kingdom's the only part where fireworks are included in the nighttime shows. And that's obviously because it would scare all the animals if they had fireworks going off and stuff. Like from the safari and the petting zoo, which you do have to get a train to, by the way. I forgot to mention that. But yeah. So now we're moving on to Disney's Blizzard Beach. But before we do that, we'd actually like to say Nighttime Spectacular. I know I didn't film them all, but let me just tell you what you've got. Magic Kingdom, you've got not Rivers of Light, that's Animal Kingdom. Happily Ever After. Hollywood Studios, you have got Fantasmic, which is actually in a theatre sort of building, like amphitheatre outside that can actually hold 10,000 people, I believe. You've also got the Star Wars Spectacular, which I didn't film any of either. The show you saw before from Hollywood Studios was actually kind of the daytime Star Wars show where you saw Chewbacca and BB-8 and people like that. At Epcot you got Illuminations Reflections of Earth, which features some of the loudest fireworks I've ever heard in my life. Gosh, you can feel the buildings vibrating, they're so loud. But yeah, that's another really good show. And obviously Animal Kingdom, like we just said, you have got The Tree Awakenings and Rivers of Light. Blizzard Beach then is one of the water parks at Walt Disney World. I didn't actually go to Typhoon Lagoon, but before we actually talk about them, I'd just like to talk to you about transport getting there. If you are staying at the hotel I am staying at, and I guess a lot of the other hotels you'll have to do this as well, and the hotel I was staying at, by the way, was Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. To get to Typhoon Lagoon, you must get a bus to Disney Springs, which is sort of the Disney Village type area, with shops and restaurants and live entertainment and stuff on the outskirts of Walt Disney World. You've then got to get a bus from there to Typhoon Lagoon. Blizzard Beach, you've got to get a bus to Animal Kingdom and then get another bus direct to Blizzard Beach. By the way, there are buses to all the parks. If you're at our hotel, the buses are actually exclusive to those to that hotel, the Port Orleans French Quarter, so they don't stop at any other hotels. If you're staying at some of the other hotels, then the buses may go to other hotels first, so that's something to think about when deciding which hotel to stay at. As well as obviously lots of other factors like the price and stuff. So yeah, Blizzard Beach, it's pretty much a standard water park. There's not a lot to say about it. I like the big ski lift they've got, which takes you up to some of the bigger slides. A good slide is actually T-Boat Springs, which is a family raft slide, which was enjoyable. However, the thing I don't like there, or well, any Disney water park, obviously Disney is packed. It gets millions of visitors a year, and I just don't enjoy queuing 10 minutes longer than that for a 10-second water slide when I can be queuing the same amount of time for a dark ride that lasts about 3 minutes, or a good coaster or something. But yeah, there's some good slides. There's to sum up what sort of slides there is at these water parks to decide what you go. The Typhoon Lagoon's got more big slides than Blizzard Beach. It's also got some water coasters, which are like, if you've ever been on the Master Blaster and Sandcastle or something like that, or at Splash Landings at Alton Towers, they go like up using these water jets and sort of down slides and stuff. Blizzard Beach has got more downhill slides that sort of go down the mountain. It's got a very big downhill slide actually, and I forgot what it's called. But yeah, there's more family slides there than at Typhoon Lagoon. There's actually more slides overall at Blizzard Beach. However, Typhoon Lagoon's got fewer slides but bigger slides. And that's excluding Blizzard Beach big body slide, which is the biggest slide in Walt Disney World, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's Blizzard Beach for you. Now finally, let's move on to Universal Orlando Resort, the second resort I went to. First of all, can I just warn you about bags and cameras and anything there? They are incredibly strict. Any form of bags, not allowed on a lot of the rides of bags. You have to hire a locker. Some are free at rides, some cost $3, and I believe you can hire a locker for the day, which costs $15. Yeah, I do not like this baggage system at all. And actually, on some of the bigger rides, you can take bags on some small rides, but they even have lockers on like silly rides, like some of the small rides, like anything. At Disney, if you're wondering, a lot of the rides have like pouches in the front of the seats. On some of the, even on like Rock and Roller Coaster, you got a pouch at the front of your seat where you can put your bags and stuff in. And a lot of the smaller rides at Disney, they'll just let you keep it in the car with you. And at Disney, to be honest, there's no issue with it. There's no chance it's going to fall out. I mean, there's dark rides like Dinosaur, which rock about and stuff, obviously have pouches at the front. But yeah, most rides, actually, wait a sec, no, Dinosaur's got like hooks to hang your bags on, I think it was. I don't remember every detail about every ride, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so Universal, you're going to end up hiring a locker or something on a lot of rides, and the problem with it is there's a big rush to get to the lockers. There's faffing about to get to the lockers. You got to remember your locker number at every ride. You have to use your fingerprint. You actually need your fingerprint for a lot of things in Orlando. They take it at the airport. You need it to get into Disney, as well as your Magic Band, which is basically a band that gets you in. It also links to the app called My Disney Experience that you can download for free and get. There's photographers around the park to take your pictures and stuff, and you also get on-ride photos which you can get on the app by scanning your Magic Band. So yeah, Universal, you need your fingerprint to get into the park like Disney, but you also need it for the locker system every time. And yeah, even actually on some of the big rides such as Dragon Challenge, and I think, no, I've not talked about it, but I will talk about it obviously because we're talking about Universal now. You actually have to go through a scanner like at an airport, actually to, well, I guess check nothing you shouldn't have, but just check you've not got anything in general, because yeah, they don't like you having anything in your pockets. They don't want you having some rides, I don't think you're even allowed your phone in the queue line. You're not allowed keys, you're not allowed chains, you're not allowed nothing. And I understand that they want to keep you all safe, but at the same time it's just a load of faffing about that's not needed. I mean, the bigger rides is where it's the most of a problem. And I guess it does help them get trains out and stuff quicker. But Disney get trains out really quick. I mean, on Rock and Roller Coaster, there's 4 trains on the track, and you sat in the station, what, 25 seconds at the most? I mean, there was one incident while I was there when I think someone at the other side dropped something in the car, so we were delayed for about another 15, maybe a minute in the station. But that's not Disney's fault. If anything, I prefer Disney's approach where they kind of let you. Also at Disney, I think you can pretty much film at your own will, really. Don't think there's many restrictions. Well, they had no issue with us filming on test track. I mean, we didn't film in the station or anything, as you'll see when I put it online, but they didn't stop the ride or anything like that. But yeah, I'm just warning you, Universal, I just want to pre-warn you, so make sure you bring some money with you for lockers if you are going there. Anyway, back to the parks themselves. They've got 2 parks at Universal. They've got the Universal Studios and Universal Islands of Adventure. Universal Studios is sort of the main park. Islands of Adventure is like a second gate park. And Universal Studios is home to stuff such as Diagon Alley. It has actually got the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal, which you probably already knew about. It is one of the best themed things in the world, Diagon Alley. Wow, it's amazing. It's on par with Disney, if not beating them, really. Yeah, it is absolutely amazing. It puts the rest of the park to shame, really, and I'll mention that again later. And yeah, you'll see from the highlights how good it is. The windows, everything, the big dragon that breathes fire. Yeah, I've talked about enough now. So the rest of the park, you got rides such as Revenge of the Mummy, which is a really good coaster. It's got a lot of airtime, no inversions. It has got a launch though. Not a very forceful launch, but a launch sort of lift hill thing. Transformers the ride. A lot of things to mention though. Universal's rides, they're a bit lazy with rides, to be honest. I mean, a lot of the rides at Universal are actually 3D rides where you wear 3D glasses and it's just screens everywhere you're looking at. For example, Transformers, The Simpsons, anything. There's a lot of screens, and I'm just warning you that a lot of the rides are quite similar. You probably need 2 days at the most in Universal to give you an idea of what to expect. And before we go on, I'm going to talk a bit about the staff at Universal. Especially on the big rides. They're nowhere near as good as Disney, nowhere near as flexible. Just to warn you that they're not as helpful as Disney at whether that be directions to anything and stuff. And I think it just shows how good Disney is, because Universal are just nowhere near. Anyway, let's move on to Islands of Adventure, which you have an option of going on the Hogwarts Express from King's Cross. They've actually built it outside Diagon Alley, as you'll see from the highlights. It's probably the first thing you're going to see, King's Cross. And you can get the Hogwarts Express to Islands of Adventure. Just to warn you, if you are doing that, well, if you're going at all. Anyway, you will need your park ticket. They will ask to see it if you're going on the Hogwarts Express every time you do. And yeah, that's brilliant. They've got all screens like down the side, like showing different bits of the Harry Potter world and stuff, and it's like a video, and it's different on the way there and back. So yeah, that's really good, that. Islands of Adventure, then you got rides such as Dragon Challenge, which is a B&M inverted coaster, which I mentioned before. 5 inversions on that. And like I said, that's the ride. That's one of the rides where they will scan you for to check that you've got nothing. I mean, they do scan you as well when you go in. I mean, Disney, they do a bag check and scan you when you go in, sorry. I mean, Disney do a bag check. They don't scan you at Disney unless you get selected. They may, like, call you over to go through one, but so it only happens occasionally. They just pick, like, random people. At Universal, you will do every time you go in there, however many days you go in there for. And yeah, so Islands of Adventure's got rides such as Dragon Challenge, Hogsmeade and Hogwarts, which is home to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. You've also got Jurassic Park, a brilliant log flume with an 85-foot drop. I think I mentioned that in the highlights as well. Also, you've got Kong, another ride, but again, it just uses screens. That's the thing that's a shame. I mean, the Harry Potter rides, I forgot to mention this, you got Gringotts over in Diagon Alley, which does use screens, but it does it well. And basically, obviously, if you know read Harry Potter, you'll know Gringotts is in Diagon Alley. And yeah, they've got a ride themed to that at Harry Potter World. Well, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I'm getting mixed up with the one in London now. Also, there's some other smaller rides over in Islands of Adventure themed to Harry Potter, such as Flight of the Hippogriff. But yeah, Dragon Challenge is actually themed to Harry Potter, the 2 dragons. It's not that themed a ride, but that's what it's meant to be themed to anyway. Now, actually, another ride that closes on the 4th of September, I believe it's closing, only a couple of weeks away now. So I did do one of the sides. It's actually 2 B&M inverted coasters. Sorry, I said a B&M inverted coaster before, but it's 2. They're like a mirror image of each other. I did the red one, I never did the blue one. Apparently the red one's meant to be like faster, but the blue one's more intense. But unfortunately I won't get to do the blue one now, but at least I got on it. So you've also got the Kong ride, which I said uses screens. There's also a cartoon themed area featuring Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls and Popeye River Rapids. Ripsaw Falls is a log flume, and obviously the other ones are rapids. Unfortunately I didn't get to do any of them, and the reason I didn't do them is because when we were on Jurassic Park one time, it rained in Florida. They have like a daily storm sort of rain thing, which happens most days. And yeah, it happened while we were on the ride, so we got absolutely soaked. So I didn't bother going on Popeye or the other ride. And the other day, which we were there 2 days, just to let you know, was because we didn't have any spare change, so I couldn't get a locker for it. You see, that's the problem with the locker system. Like, people who haven't brought money or who don't know about it or something, like, what can they do? Because, and it's weird though, because some rides you have to pay for lockers, some you don't. Finally, Hulk and Spider-Man are in the sort of Marvel themed area, and you'll see how crazy Hulk is later. Sort of a B&M lift hill launched sit down roller coaster. Spider-Man's another ride, too similar to Transformers in my opinion. However, I think it is the better of the two, but again, it just uses screens. So yeah. Finally then, there's a Zeus themed area, which is like a children's themed area with some smaller rides. And also a Greek themed area, I think called the Lost Islands, which I didn't really go in. You can probably tell by the way I'm talking about it. I'm not a Universal fan, I am a Disney fan. And that actually made me realise going to Universal how much of a Disney fan I am really. I mean, it's just nowhere near as good on my opinion. I don't miss it at all, but I do miss Disney World, and it's just a shame. Just nearly every single ride uses screens, to be honest. It just doesn't appeal to me at all really, but I'd say give it a go. You might think differently. Some people love Universal. But yeah, go there for about 2 days and yeah, see what you think. I'm now going to show you then some highlights from Universal.
Okay, so we're now outside King's Cross in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Universal Studios. Like I said, there is 2 parts in Universal Universal Orlando Resort. I don't get my words out then. There's Universal Studios, which we're now in Universal Islands Adventure. Yeah, like I said, you're going to see a lot of shots around this area. And both parks really probably got more shots around these parks than any other park in Disney or Universal. And there's also going to be a lot from Islands of Adventure. You can hear there the sort of the alien flat ride, which is nearby in the background. And now we're going to head to Diagon Alley itself. Some more shots around Wizarding World Harry Potter. That was the preview then of the new Fast and Furious ride that's coming. A bit of advertisement, and now we are finally quite a few shots through some of the windows in Diagon Alley into the shops. A lot of these shots might seem quite similar to each other, but I just want to show you as much of Diagon Alley as I can, because that is how good it is. I mean, it's so realistic. Some details. there you go, another far out shots of it across the lake. We're now heading into the Lost Islands or something like that. Such a great themed area. I didn't really go in it, so I don't know a lot about it. It does look nice though. By the way, I do prefer this park over the other one just because of the themed areas. Be heading to Hogsmeade soon. Hogwarts. This is probably, possibly maybe, sort of the next best themed area. Jurassic Park, which you'll see soon, and the pond-themed area are so good. I didn't get any shots of the pond-themed area, but yeah, I did in Jurassic Park. Heading into Hogsmeade now. I mean, the snow on top of all the buildings looks good, obviously. It's not cold at all, it's about 30, 31 degrees, maybe even 32, 33, but yeah. See there, we will be heading to Hogwarts in a minute. There we go, Hogwarts. Unfortunately, I don't have any videos inside Hogwarts because of what I talked about before. Universal's strict policy, no theming in queue lines or set places, whatever, or on rides. Which is a shame. Here a bit of Flight of the Hippogriff, the little family roller coaster there in the background as we head further through Hogsmeade towards Jurassic Park. Two very different themed areas to each other, but they both immerse you into that theme. I mean, you don't go in Jurassic Park thinking that Hogsmeade's just right next to it. There we go, there's the entrance to Jurassic Park, and you can see how different it is. As we head over to the Jurassic Park ride, which is going to end our tour of Universal Studios and Universal Islands of Adventure. Hope you've enjoyed it. And this splash, by the way, is better than Splash Mountain. I mean, the ride as a whole is a bit of a drop of Splash at the end. It doesn't look bigger, but it is, as you're going to see now. You also get wet in the Splash Mountain. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this tour.
Okay, so you just seen some highlights from Universal Orlando Resort. Final thing then before I go, I'd just like to give you some tips and tricks when going to Florida theme parks. Some will be specific to theme parks, certain theme parks, but yeah, I think there's a couple I got. First of all, whatever theme park you're going to in Florida, whether that be Disney, Universal or any park, make sure you try and get on the big sort of outdoor rides and coasters in the morning. Only because if you know Florida's sort of climate, you'll know that especially in these summer months, they get like afternoon sort of storms where it sort of rains, maybe a bit of thunder and lightning. They do get some bad lightning over there, by the way. Rides will shut if the storm is in a certain mile of the park and they think that the ride's at a risk. Even stuff like Test Track at Disney World, which isn't even high, but it's all made of metal, so if lightning strikes that, it would be very, very dangerous. But yeah, just to warn you. Also, your fast passes, make sure you book them for the morning at Disney. Because once you can't book another one till you use them. You've only got 3 that you can have first. one day, and then you can book one after that. And then once you've used that one, you can just keep going and get another one, so on. So you kind of have 3 at the start, then you can book another one, but you can't book any more, and then you got to use that one. And yeah, but you got to use all 3, just to put this a bit more clearly, before you can book anything else. So yeah, those are the 2 tips. Finally then, I'm going to show you some of the pin badges I've got. So these are the pin badges I've got. You can see I've got a Flight of Passage Open Edition badge. Also some other badges such as Star Tours. If I can get it on the camera. Yep, there we go, Star Tours. Expedition Everest, which I believe is over here. There we go. And yeah, plenty of others. The castle with the fireworks there, which is a good badge. So yeah, those are some of my pin badges. Test track there. And yeah, so hope you've enjoyed this episode. And yeah, stay tuned for the mystery episode, which I'm not announced yet. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye.